Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel, and I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of February 13th through the 19th. So we got Valentine's week, and we got a sweet Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces for around Valentine's, but we also have the sun's annual conjunction to Saturn this week, and we have a new moon at the critical second degree of Pisces. So good amount of stuff to go over this week. First off, the Astrological Winds channel is a free service that I offer. It is on YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, you can become a follower and just turn your notifications on. And please, since it is a free service I offer, I would love for everybody to be able to pass the link on to someone else when you're done. So if that's possible, please do that for me. And if you've done it before, please, find someone else you can pass it on to also. 50% or more of the world's population believes in astrology these days. So, there's probably other people in your phone list and your contacts that may be interested in it too. And also remember, it is available on podcast too. Just look up Astrological Winds channel on your favorite podcast and you will be able to listen to it. You don't really have to see the video. Anyway, I'll go through some more of those details later. And the other best way you guys can help me out is I am a professional astrologer. If you need any professional astrological services, readings, just get in touch with me. And the best way to do that is through my email, matthue823@gmail.com. All right. First off, I just need to make a couple comments on the last full moon. If you remember, the full moon was 2 Sundays ago, and that was the one at 17 degrees of Leo, and it was in that really tight T-square with Uranus. So that was really only a little bit more than a week ago. Now it's 8 days ago. And what happened right on that full moon? What I had, said was that, when we have full moons, many times there are a lot of, not only the behavior of individuals gets, really ramped up, but natural disasters, man-made disasters get really ramped up. And in particular, when Uranus is involved and in a tight T-square, Uranus, the ruler of natural disasters, and in particular earthquakes. And I had said back then on 2 blogs ago that we needed to be aware there may be some kind of major natural disaster, likely an earthquake that weekend. And of course, right on that day, we got the major earthquake in Turkey and Syria that is definitely one of the bigger ones as far as the damage done to humans and human infrastructure in quite a while. So that you can see the power, not only of the full moon, the pull of the gravity that, not only we can see that in the waves of the ocean, how the gravity makes the waves bigger, but also, the core of the earth is molten too, so it's subject to the push and pull of the gravity of the full moon too. And we, as individuals, are 70% liquid too, so water, so we're being pushed and pulled by the intense gravity of those full moons too. And that's where we can see, as above so below, where the energy can really have an effect on events that are occurring not only with individuals but on a larger scale, literally to the point of the earth itself. Even if humans weren't here, this earthquake was like a triggering event. And then we get Uranus squaring the moon and sun at the same time, and the ruler of sudden upsetting events and behaviors when it comes to humans, but and so we just got that whole package, and even this other thing going on all of a sudden since that full moon. The balloon that floated over the U.S. that was identified as Chinese, and created this whole like looking up at the sky, I guess, more in detail. And now suddenly we're getting reports from the US and Canada and even China that, there's these other objects that seemingly are up there too. And so what is going on? Another very Uranus type of situation. Like, what is going on? Something very shocking and different. So really wanted to just point that out. And I do have a lot to go through this week. So, just some stuff to really see how astrology is so working, and I'm sure, we could even look at Turkey's chart and see, why the earthquake in particular went through that area if we wanted to look in that in more detail. But just the fact that we knew this energy was very prevalent that day and that weekend, and sure enough, we got this massive earthquake and other upsetting news. And you can even go beyond the balloons thing. There's so much other stuff going on right now that's definitely been, I think, shocking to people in the social world of the results or what's happening. It's like things are out of control, and that's that full moon cycle with the Uranus. Things will not be in control. All right, anyway, so this week, today and tomorrow, kind of start slow. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and what's really sweet about that is on Wednesday, early in Wednesday, is a conjunction of Venus and Neptune in Pisces, a sign they both love to be in. Neptune really is almost the modern co-ruler of Pisces, has a lot of energy that's very much the same as Pisces, and Venus just loves to be in Pisces because it's exalted there, and it brings together human love and spiritual love into this very beautiful mix. And so Pisces is this very romantic sign, and here we have Valentine's Day. So so even if it's not on Valentine's Day itself, Wednesday morning, you may wake up by the side of the love of your life, and that may be someone who you have recently connected with. There's a conjunction going on, so there's a lot of beginnings there, but it also may just be a realization of that, of this person who you woke up next to is that person, and maybe it's just taken that time. So there's this really deep soulmate connection in this Venus-Neptune conjunction energy. But, and it really lives in this romantic, idealistic way of looking at relationships. And in Pisces, just exponentiates that. Now, the danger of that is, of course, we can delude ourselves too and think, that this person, next to us is the ideal person, and they may be so. But they also are a human being, and they more likely than not are not going to reach or be perfectly ideal for you. So there can be this energy that also is where we can self-delude ourselves a little bit. We look at other people through rose-colored glasses in that way, but it brings a lot of compassion and empathy and understanding of others, if nothing else. And also it is a very creative energy. Venus is all about our creativity too, and Neptune is about inspiration. So it takes the ideals of creativity and bring them to us, and can really inspire us, really fire up our imagination and get us into doing art, or just even being in beautiful surroundings, in nature, and getting a connection that way too, like almost like this abstract impressionist kind of connection with nature. Interestingly enough too, Mercury is trining Ceres that day too, Wednesday, the day after Valentine's Day. And that also shows, the ability to get support with loved ones through, through communication that's really flowing and harmonious. Also, though, Mercury is square the nodes that day, which shows that maybe there's certain groups, though, that are causing us some issues that we kind of need to disassociate somewhat with. Okay, the second big event of the week comes right after. It's so funny, this one's really funny because, the Venus Neptune is so ideal and beautiful and soft and, wonderful. And then comes the annual conjunction of the Sun to Saturn on Thursday. So it's literally the complete opposite of the Venus Neptune. It's like a total reality check when the Sun is conjunct Saturn. And it's a lot to do with having to deal with the responsibilities and duties that we have in the world, and feeling like we may not have the time that we'd like to have to do more kind of Venus Neptune things, to do things that are more appealing to the part of us that's into ideals and abstractions and creativity and relationships and things like that. Sun Saturn is more like, no, you have to deal with reality and the responsibilities and duties you have with reality. And a lot of it may have to do with literally, where we have authority. Like, we may be given more authority, which has a lot of benefits to it. It can bring us physical benefits. It can bring us things that are solid in the real world that we can stand on, and bring us some kind of like base, to build from. So that's really good, and it can give us authority in our own life too, where we have more power to call the shots of what's going on in that reality. But at the same time, it gives us more responsibility too. And that's where I think, a lot of people can feel like, it's just taking away too much of their fun, too much of their, time of what they really would like to be doing, rather than, what they have to be doing. Yeah, it's interesting too. The Sun is semi-square Chiron that day too. So it does show it's very hard to find the balance between this, beautiful Venus-Neptune conjunction and this Sun-Saturn conjunction, which is very hard and real. And, it can also show that it can bring in stuff that's going to slow us down physically. Illness, injury, just feeling, kind of like maybe pain, constant pain, or something that, can slow us down physically. And then it starts to, the Sun, Saturn, and Chiron can also, the Venus, Neptune is starting to fade. It can make it much more difficult to relate to others, and just kind of have us more on what we're kind of like a serious side of looking at things. Now, Friday, there's a sweet Mercury sextile Jupiter, which is like the ability of the mind to see things in a big, big vision, in a big way. So it's really good for organizing on a large scale, making plans on a large scale, plans that do adhere to the values that we have, and, just have a wide scope. They're not going to allow things to restrict us in any way. And it gives us a really good attitude too, very friendly, optimistic attitude that creates a give and take with others, where we can give and receive benefits and get opportunities that way. It's interesting though, at the same time, Mercury is semi-square Neptune, so we have to make sure we're not going too far, that we're not living in some fantasy world where, these big plans and visions we have are not paying attention at all to reality. And that's where that Sun Saturn can help from the day before. It can ground a lot of that stuff into reality, and help us make the right plans and not overlook the details and things like that. And then on Saturday is the day the sun goes into Pisces. So we're in the northern hemisphere, we're into the last third of winter, and in the southern hemisphere, in the last third of summer. And what's interesting, to me about this, is, we have, this is Pisces is all about like emotional intuition. It's like feeling our way through things, and and so it brings a sensitivity up, and we can be sensitive with one another, especially on the emotional level. Really feel the way other people feel, and that can be overwhelming. It can be very much like, hey, this is like, there's a lot of input coming in on an emotional level. So a lot of times the Pisces energy comes up, it's really good to take breaks for yourself and not get so much input from the outside world. Kind of contemplate and meditate on a lot of the stuff that you have had inputted to you already. But you're going to get like, there's this sensitivity, that goes on with Pisces. But it really is sensing the connection that we all have with one another underneath, the connection of life itself. And so, Pisces has this energy that wants to merge. It's driven by merging into whatever's going on around it, with other people, with the situations going on, the emotions going on, all of that stuff. And and so it it can be very inspiring, it can be very imaginative, and it's extremely idealistic. So a lot of times it's very disconnected to reality, or that reality can be very painful because it's not measuring up to the way we'd like to see it ideally. So Pisces also opens up the door, therefore, to escapism, to the use of substances or things to get away from reality. And and some of that may be okay, but there's a certain level where we can let that go too far, obviously, and get into very addictive behaviors, victimhood, allowing others to kind of like push us around, or playing the martyr kind of energy. So just a very sensitive energy, sensitive to our surroundings, and also very inspired, very artistic, full of fantasy and things like that. One of the other dangers of Pisces, this is a very spiritual side, very connected with psychic energy, spiritual energy, sensing a lot of stuff on that level. And one of the dangers of Pisces when it comes to that is believing that your belief system is the only one that's right. And that's where that dualism of Pisces comes in, where the two fish are swimming in opposite directions. And then you adopt an us versus them attitude. So you can see this in a lot of religion. You can see it in modern religions where, there's this feeling that, for many of the believers, I'm not saying everybody, that they feel they have the answer for everyone else, and will try to force that onto other people. So that's one of the dangers of Pisces, is getting into this us versus them mentality, despite the connection that is sensed underneath everything that Pisces is really about. So then what's big about all that, let's continue to write that in. Sun goes into Pisces on Saturday, and then the moon goes into Pisces Sunday, and immediately we get a new moon at the second degree, a critical degree, something of saying there we have to look at Pisces energy in a new way. Like, what does Pisces really mean to us? Is what, like, when a new moon is like this low in degrees in the sign, it's really like I said, it's about a connection to all and everything, And I think this new moon is trying to show us that, hey, we're all in this together. There's a baseline for all of us, and that is a human being. Like, before we're anything else, we're human beings. That's the connection at the tail that the two fish have. That is a baseline unity energy. We are all human beings before we're anything else. Before you can put any kind of label on what you are or who somebody else is, you are a human being first. And I think this low degree of Pisces wants us to understand that, we after that start to create the divisions that, become belief systems that start to separate us, and we start to see differences. So, what this one is, I think it wants us to really awaken to that fact that despite all these differences on the outside, we are human beings first. And then the question is, what are we actually? Are we human beings? Or are we learning to be human? Or are we, beings that are learning on being human? So I mean, this is what that energy is, and that's one of the basic recognitions I think that we need to see, is that we all want the same things. We want safety, security, food and shelter and health care for our loved ones, and for our loved ones to be happy. This is a cross-cultural thing. This is what humans want, before we start, once again, creating a division. So I think, when it's at this critical second degree, it's asking us to look at things on that very baseline level and come from there. And that's what opens up the compassionate part of Pisces, the understanding, the empathy part of Pisces, the part of Pisces that feels that connection with everybody else, and instead of like the divisive Pisces that creates this us versus them type of energy. So very, very interesting. And remember, once again, sensitivity is very high on this new moon, and it's going to be very much like the moon is involved now, so we're going to want to backtrack into behaviors that are like operating on subconscious and emotional levels. And it's such an emotional sign that we can get easily overwhelmed and quickly run into what our favorite form of escapism is during that too. So, it's interesting. There's no aspects to this new moon, so it's pretty pure on that level. The last aspect the moon had is leaving a conjunction to Saturn, so it's really wanting to break free of restricted things and allow in more. And interestingly enough too, the ruler of this new moon is Jupiter, which is in Aries and is closing in on its conjunction to Chiron. And that's all about sharing too. That's all about sharing belief systems and things like that. It's wanting to bring out a lot of that stuff into our social world and social groups. And it wants to, it basically wants to make a connection with others who are sharing these beliefs and attitudes, and bringing, with the Chiron energy, healing energy to ourselves, the individual in Aries, but with Jupiter there too, also to our society. It like trying to find, where we do have similar values as human beings. And what is that? We want our loved ones and ourselves to have all those things I just said. So if we can, I think it's trying to teach us, we can work from that baseline, we can sense that connection, we can have that empathy and understanding for one another, and start to look at things in a different way, and maybe adjust our values and our beliefs and become more compassionate, more understanding of ourselves and the others around us. And that can help us start to shift things in society, healing things, Jupiter conjunct Chiron in society, and bring us to a new place. And it's the same way in our charts. Wherever that 2 degrees Pisces falls in your chart, that's a new place for you to look at that kind of energy. If the house that's in your chart, that's where it's going to be a beginning energy of looking at things in a different way and trying to, sense that baseline. But I really think this is what this new moon is all about. It's trying to teach us, hey, this critical second degree, that we are all connected together. We are one species, and all the divisions after that are labels that we've created ourselves based on our own belief systems, and those belief systems were created by us, in our minds. So we get to we are responsible for how we react to them, and we can also adjust and change them to fit what is the continuing evolutionary processes of our individual life and the universe and society itself. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Wings channel. This is a free service that I offer you guys every week. I'd love to do it. I do it for myself. Love to do it for you too. What I would love in return for that love is for you right now to pass the link on to somebody else. Even if you've done it 5 times, there's a lot of people who believe in astrology. Let them determine whether they like the blog or not. You don't have to make that judgment, right away. Let's start with that baseline. They're other human beings. They might like astrology too, right? The other way you guys can help me is by getting a reading, or if you ever want a reading, or if you know someone who wants a reading. I've been doing professional readings for a long time, so please get in contact with me. I do natal birth charts. I do predictive work, which is similar to this blog, except I do it for your next year in your life individually, and it can be very, very telling and helpful to what you're going through right now, to know that energy and be able to work with it. Relationship charts, if you just met someone and you're wondering what brought you together, or if you've been in a relationship for a while and you're experiencing things together in that relationship and are curious about what the relationship chart is showing and what the transits are to that, the predictive work on that too. Children's charts, if you have a young one, it helps to understand where they're coming from, how you can relate to them better, and also the major events in their life, things like that. Election charts for people who are going to have some big new event coming up, getting married, starting a business, things like that. Always good to, if you can, hone in the energy as best you can on that, and use that wisdom to help for a better chance for success. Horary charts for anyone who has an emotionally burning question they can't get an answer to. A lot of times we can find an answer in a chart. Fixed star readings for people who are looking for deeper soul purpose. And also I am available for all kinds of classes, lectures, question and answer sessions, mini readings at your event. And I also have beginner astrology classes, 5 of them available. Any of these things, you got to email me. It's the best way to get in touch with me. It's mattHue823@gmail.com. That's mattHue823@gmail.com. Remember, too, the blog is on podcasts, so, No reason to be stuck on a video with it. Just look it up. It's put out by Buzzsprout. It's picked up by about 20 different podcasts. It's also on Instagram. Just look up Astrological Winds channel. I do post additional information on Instagram at times during the week that are just things you can read. It's nothing to do with audio or video. Also, Facebook, I post the link there. It is a private account. You do have to friend me first, and that's Matthew with a capital M with 2 T's, and then Lawton, capital Lauten. Anyone who'd like to give a donation, I know there's some people who like to give a monetary donation at times to the blog. Same thing. Venmo is the symbol at A in the circle, and then Matthew with capital M, TT hyphen, and then capital Lauten. And that's the best way to, if you'd like, no amount is too small. So, anything is helpful there for sure. But like I said, it is a free service, and the best way to help is to right now pass the link on to someone else. Okay, thanks so much, guys. We will get into next week. Will be the last week. That's going to be the last week of February. Yeah, so we'll do the last week of February next week and see what's going on there. But we've got a new moon. It's on the weekend again, next Sunday. So it's a great time to plant some new seeds in that next 30-day new moon cycle. All right, I'll see y'all next week.